gorgeous? Does that funk have you feeling stuck? Have you questioning your purpose, or even yet having you asking if your best years are behind you? Girl, you have zero obligation to stay in that funk. This podcast is for women who want to get the funk out of here, who want to play bigger, ask for more, and step out of mediocrity. Imagine a life filled with lots of energy, excitement, and filled with funk instead of that funk. This is the After 40 Unfunk Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Crystal, and I'm ready to shift. Let's go! Hey, Superwoman. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and a good long weekend for most of you. This weekend, I went to a little crafty type shop where there were little trinkets and things designed by hand out of metal, like they were lizards and cactus. And there was a sign that actually said, complaint department, pull the pin for service. And you can visit my Instagram at _Crystal_Sumner to get a better visual. But in essence, it was a picture of a hand grenade, like they used in war. And like everything else, I became curious. Like, what if I could use that grenade and blow up all complaints? What if that sign could come true and we blow up complaining altogether? What would you do instead? Let me ask that question again. If you couldn't complain, what would you do instead? Even the Harvard Business Review says complaining replaces the need to act. So basically, it's saying that it keeps you in inaction. Like you're not taking action when you're complaining. And we all know by now that a critical piece to unfunking our mind is action, taking action. And according to MI Psychology, the average person complains 15 to 30 times a day. Why do we do that? Some people call it venting, like maybe you do. But we do it for a number of reasons. And most of those reasons are because in that moment, it actually makes us feel better. And it can create connection or community and give you a sense of belonging amongst other complainers. But what does complaining actually do to level up your life? What benefit does it give? And the answer is nothing, actually. There are some different schools of thoughts here, but temporarily it might add a little feel-good dopamine. But ultimately, it adds nothing. And according to research at a Stanford University, they found that complaining actually reduces the size of your hippocampus, which is a part of your brain, ladies. And the hippocampus is actually responsible for memory and problem solving. So to put that in my own words, we become less intelligent. So not only are we sitting in inaction, it's actually reducing our brain function. And because your brain likes to do what is easy, by constantly complaining, our brain is being wired to feel comfortable by complaining. It's almost like it makes it a habit. So guess what? It becomes your way of communicating, mindlessly complaining. And what about the complaint department in your mind that you don't even vocally express? Like it's just your thoughts are actually part of your complaint department. Do you think that when you let your complaints run wild in your thoughts, that no one else can see it or hear it through your body language? How big is your complaint department in your head? And what if you use that grenade to blow up that complaint department up there? Another study, according to Stanford University, not only does it affect your brain and its function and its wiring, but it affects your health. Now, here is some sciencey stuff that I will break down into easy visual. But when we complain, it basically releases cortisol. And cortisol is like our stress hormone. And repeated complaining results in cortisol being released at higher levels, which triggers us and keeps us in that fight or flight mode. So you're staying in this mode all the time when you're letting your complaints run rampant. And sitting with all this excess cortisol basically leaves you standing in front of a buffet of crap to choose from, like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, stroke. Who wants to eat from that buffet? Nobody. Can someone grab me a grenade, maybe even two? How many of us need to pull that pin and blow up the complaint department? Then there is the concept of attracting what you are. So if you complain a lot, chances are so do the people you hang out with. But you knew that, right? Just thinking about how things compound like complaining, it actually seems like an innocent thing. Maybe you're just complaining to a friend. And let's just revisit that study that said on average, the average person complains 15 to 30 times a day. Let's just take the low side and the person complains 15 times a day. And let's just say it lasts for 1 minute. That equates to 90 hours over the course of the year. What could you do with an extra 90 hours? All of a sudden, that innocent thing that you're doing or what seemed innocent is robbing you of time. And we all know that not only is it robbing you of time, it's robbing you of your energy. And another interesting way that somebody else described complaining was that it spreads sideways. So while it makes you feel temporarily better, establishes a little connection between you and the other person, when you complain, it goes to the next complaint department of someone else. And it continues to spread and grow. Are you the cause of spreading more complaints? I bet you don't want to be a part of that. So here's the takeaway action. Can you go 24 hours without complaining? And this includes your thoughts. For example, I had a thought the other day that my HOA needed to address the dog poop along the side of the road because hot, smelly poop makes me throw up in my mouth a little. But ladies, this is a form of complaining. You're just keeping it in your own complaint department. How do you break this? Becoming aware is the first step. Gratitude, addressing your complaint with the source ASAP, living for something bigger than you to where those complaints really don't mean shit. And if you're a visual person, remember back in the day when there was actually a jar and every time you cussed, you would put money in it? And maybe you didn't do that, but I remember this being a thing. And maybe you do it instead of cussing. Every time you complain, drop a penny in that jar. Drop a quarter in that jar. If nothing else, it should serve as a reminder of the time and energy you're dedicating to your complaint department. Who wants to dedicate energy to that? Take that moment you used to complain and direct that to the thing that you have been wanting to do or to learn. When you become aware of your complaint department, ask yourself if it's truly a valid concern or have you just made complaining a habit? If it's a valid concern, your energy can be directed to finding solutions. Complaining brings temporary relief, but when you solve the issue, it brings permanent relief. Then you're working from a more empowered place. And when you're in a complaint funk, it's easy to get into that woe is me mindset. Instead, readdress the complaint. Ask yourself what you can learn from it or how you can grow. By readdressing the complaint, you begin to embrace a more positive attitude and radiate a more vibrant energy. Imagine your mental sanctuary where gratitude and solutions are in abundance. Wouldn't your energy be so much more attractive to yourself and others? And just thinking about this mental sanctuary brings me energy, a new energy. Engage in activities that cultivate an environment that nurtures positivity rather than fuel complaints. For instance, going to your local art venue with friends and participating in something like painting with a twist, where you engage your creative side by painting a canvas or molding a sculpture while you sip on a glass of wine and have lots of laughs. By adding activities or actions in your social events can help you avert a night of complaining. I'm sure the majority of you would rather have more laughs stacked up by the end of the night versus complaints being stacked up. Complaints are so heavy to carry. Not only do we not need to carry all of ours, but we definitely don't need to carry those of the people we spend time with. They need to take their complaints and take them down the road, right? So next time, let's push the make it light button versus the make it heavy button. So many times we want to overthink it or complicate things. Your complaint department requires neither. You don't need to overthink it and you don't need to complicate it. Are those complaints, whether expressed or are they just running constantly in your mind, serving you at all? Are they adding any value to your life long term? Blow up those complaints. Watch it shift your energy. Free up time to work on something more meaningful to you. If you sit in your complaint department in inaction, I promise you will have the same results you're getting today. You're here because you know it's time for action. So let's go. Now that concludes this explosive episode of Unfunk Your Mind. Try and go 24 hours without complaining. It's time to ignite change within yourself and witness remarkable transformation. Pull the pin on that grenade and blow up your complaint department. In here, I'll start you off. Let me do it for you. All right, consider it done. I just blew up your complaint department. Now go out there and try not to complain for 24 hours. Okay, girl, let's go. Before you go, Superwoman, I'd love it if you took a little action for me. Like, subscribe to my podcast and leave a review. Also, share the episode with a friend. And as a thank you, hit up my website to crystalsumner.com, thecrystalsumner.com, to grab free journal prompts. Okay, ladies, now is the time to go unfunk your mind, play bigger, and ask for more. Open the door to possibility and cancel playing small. So get up,